Hello and welcome to part 1 of my Sims 4 Blender tutorial. In this part I will be explaining which programs you will need, how to export your Sims from the game, and how to load them into Blender. The first thing you're going to do is open the Sims and create a new save. Then go into CAS and create the Sim you want to render. You can give them any accessories and clothes that you like, but remember that the more outfits they have, the longer it will take to export them. I've already created a Sim for the purposes of this tutorial. After you're done creating your Sim, save the household. Then go into the neighborhood and delete all the other unwanted households in your game. By unwanted, I mean households with Sims that you will not be using in Blender. This is important because it'll make it easier to find the Sim you want to export later. Then move your new household into a lot, save and exit your game. For this tutorial you will need two programs, the Sims 4 Ripper and Blender. These programs are both free. I will leave the links to both of these programs in the description below. This is what your download pages look like. Make sure to pick the first option. With Blender there are versions for Windows and Mac. You just have to choose whichever one you have. After you've downloaded and installed the Sims 4 Ripper and Blender, it's time to open up the Sims 4 Ripper and export your Sim. First, I will explain a little bit about the settings. Over here you can see there is an HQ option. If you use the HQ mod for your Sims, you want to check this. If not, just leave it on standard. Next, we have the texture options. As you can see, I prefer to choose the option all separate meshes, one texture. The reason is because this is the only option that exports all the parts of the Sim separately. This will come in handy with sculpting in Blender later. To load your Sim, click Select. Navigate to your Sims 4 saves folder and select the most recent save. On the left side you'll see a list of all the names of the Sims that are in that save file. Since we deleted most of them earlier, the list shouldn't be too long, but if you've named your Sim something specific, that will be extra easy to find. Locate and click on the name of your Sim and wait for the program to load them in. This may take a few minutes depending on how many outfits your Sim has. Once your Sim is loaded, click Save as DAE file and save the file wherever you can find it. When your Sim is saved, open up Blender. For this tutorial I want to keep things as simple as possible, so I'll be keeping the default cube and using it as a plain background. First, scale up the default cube. Then go into edit mode in the top left corner. Click on Face Select and then click on one side of the cube. Right click and press Delete Faces. Now we have a hollow cube to serve as a background. The next thing to do is go into the Shading tab. We're going to be using an HDRI texture to create realistic lighting for our render. Inside the Shading tab, select World. Go to Add, Texture, Environment Texture, and plug it into Color. Now change the viewport shading to Display Render Preview. This will show you what your render is going to look like. Right now, you can see the screen is pink. This is because we haven't loaded in an HDRI texture yet. To do that, click Open and choose an HDRI image. I will be using a simple studio lighting HDRI. see, the background shows the picture of the studio, but it won't be visible in the final render because of the default cube. The next thing to do is go back to the Layout tab. In the upper right context menu, right-click and select New Collection. You can name this collection whatever you want. I usually name it DAE because this is where you will be loading your sim. Now we're going to load our sim into the scene. Click File, Import.dae, and locate the folder where you've saved your sim. Click Import. It's going to import all the meshes and the rig of your sim. It's also going to load in a lamp file for some reason, but we don't need that, so we're just going to right-click and delete. What I like to do is load a custom rig for my sims. You don't have to do this because your sim already comes with the default male or female rig, depending on whether you have a male or female sim, but I'm going to show you why I like to use a custom rig instead. I'm going to select the rig in the context menu and go into pose mode. Then I will select one of the finger joints and press R on my keyboard. After I press R, I use my mouse to change the direction of the sim's finger. As you can see, it looks like it's bending now. The problem is that when you pose a finger from a certain angle and then change to a different angle, it looks like it's been broken. We don't want that. We want a rig that will make it so that you can only move her finger joints in one direction. To undo the finger breaking action, I press Ctrl Z and I go back into object mode. I select the default rig and press the delete button on my keyboard. You can see she just got turned around because the rig is gone. To save myself some time, I'm just going to rotate the box so that I can see her better. Okay, so right now the sim has no rig. We will be adding this later, but first we're going to fix the materials. Go into the Shading tab and select either the Material Preview mode or the Render Preview mode. Either one of them will display the textures, which is what we need. In the Shading tab, you also need to go back into Object mode, because we need to edit the Sims materials and not the environment materials. In the Sims 4 Ripper, we saved all of the different body parts of the sim. Select one of the body parts and the material nodes will show up. I will now show you how to get rid of the strange glossiness and how to add transparency. Plug the specular node into specular on the principled BDSF. Then click Add, Mix Shader and drop the Mix Shader between the principled BDSF and the material output node. Next, click Add again and choose Transparent BDSF. Plug it into the Mix Shader in the exact order shown in the video. Then plug the FAC into the Base Colors Alpha channel. The next thing you need to do is go into the material properties and change the blend mode to alpha hashed. What we've done is created material settings for one body part of our sim. In order to add this material to the rest of the body parts, first name the material. Then you're going to select the mesh that already has the texture you want. In this case, it's the bottom part of the sim. I select that part and then hold Shift and select the rest of the body parts as well. With all the meshes selected, press Ctrl L and select Link Materials. Now all of our meshes have the same texture. If you're satisfied with these results, you can leave it like this, But there is a small trick I like to use to make the skin look even better. If you want similar results to my renders, I recommend using this trick. First, select one of the meshes that has a lot of skin showing. I usually select the head mesh for this. Go into the material properties again and click New Material. This will make a copy of the material you already have so that you can make small tweaks to it. Up the subsurface to around 23. Then change the subsurface color to black. Click on Subsurface Radius and change all of the values to 1000. I will now show you the difference between the old material and the new one. The difference is subtle, but you can see a bit more light is allowed to shine through the skin in the new material settings. Now you need to add this new material to all of the other body parts that have skin showing. For this sim, that includes the top and bottom meshes and the shoes. In order to change the materials, select the top mesh. Again, go into the material properties and select the new material you created. Repeat this process with the bottom and the shoe meshes. If your sim's feet are not showing, you don't need to change the shoe material. However, my sim's feet are showing. And in order to avoid this strange dark line on the ankles, I changed the material for the shoes as well. There's one more quick trick with materials that I can show you. All you gotta do is up the metallic properties and turn down the roughness, and it'll make your sim's skin appear as if it's wet and shiny. Now we're gonna add a custom rig to our sim. I found this rig as a download on Tumblr. I'll put the link in the description. After you download the rig, you click File, Append, and locate where you saved it. Double click on the file and it will show you a bunch of folders. Click the folder named Object. Then click Rig and click Append. You will load the rig but also the bone shape for some reason. You don't need the bone shape, so just right click and delete it. Select your custom rig and name it something. I will name it Tutorial for now. Now what we want to do is link all of these meshes to the custom tutorial rig. The way you do this is by selecting all of your meshes first. Then press Ctrl and select the rig last. It's very important that you select the rig last or else this method won't work. After you select your meshes and your rig, you press Ctrl P and click the option with empty groups. Now all your meshes are linked to your custom rig, which means that when you go into pose mode, click on one of the joints on the rig and press R. You can move your sim's body again. Hey! As you can see, I've made a small change and given the sim long hair. I've done this purely for the purpose of showing you later how you can sculpt long hairs to make them look more realistic. This is not necessarily shorter hairs. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to pose your sim. Click on the sim's rig in the context menu. Then switch back to the layout tab and switch to pose mode. If you press A on your keyboard, a bunch of small dots will become highlighted. These are your rig joints. You can select individual dots by clicking on them. After you select one of the joints, press R and move your mouse to adjust the position. If you want to move the joint in a different direction, you will have to press R multiple times. For example, press R once and it will allow you to move the joint to the left and right. Press R again and you can move it back and forth. To finalize the new position, simply click again and your joint will stay in place. I'm now going to speed up the posing footage so you can see how I do it. It may feel clunky at first, but after a while you get used to the process of moving your Sims joints and it'll be a lot quicker. Now that the sim is posed, you can see that in the camera view, the hair looks like it's stiff and floating off to the side. We don't want that. You can change this by going into the context menu and selecting the hair mesh. Then go into the Sculpting tab and in the viewport shading, choose Display in Material Preview mode. Then select the Elastic Deform tool. These are the settings I use, but you can adjust them according to what feels most natural to you. With this tool, I'm going to shape the hair around the Sim's body so that it looks more natural. I want the hair to look like it's being affected by gravity. Now when I go back into camera mode, you can see that the hair looks a lot better. It looks like it's actually hanging down. Sculpting is something that you can use on any mesh part of your sim. Because the earrings are currently sticking out to the side, I'm going to sculpt those as well, using the same process I did for the hair. When you're using custom ears on your sim like I am, you want to make sure that you don't accidentally disconnect the ears from the head like this. First, you have to decide whether you want to use Eevee or cycles. I personally use both, so I'll be showing my settings for both Eevee and cycles. First up is Eevee. To get my results, you want to copy all of my render property settings. Make sure viewport denoising is checked. Then check ambient occlusion. What this does is give your image a bit more depth by adding shadows. You can see the difference. You can also adjust the setting to your liking, but I usually keep it around 3. You can also add bloom if you like, which will make your render look fuzzier. I don't use this a lot because I already add a similar effect in post-render editing. Leave the rest of the settings untouched. Now go into Output Properties and decide which resolution you want to use. I usually go with 1500 by 2000 so that I have plenty of details to edit in Photoshop later. The rest of the settings I leave untouched. Now, to render your picture, go to Render, Render Image, and there we go! Our image is rendered. To render your image in cycles, we have to adjust some of the settings. First, go into Render Properties and change the render engine to cycles. The image will appear grainy in your viewport, but we're going to fix that in a moment. In the Sampling tab, change Render to 60. Then change your device to GPU if it's available. This will speed up the rendering process. Go into View Layer Properties and check Denoising Data. Then go into the Compositing tab. Make sure the Use Nodes box is checked. Click Add and add a Denoise node. Then drag and drop the Denoise node in between the Render Layers and Composite node. Next, you're going to attach the nodes. Noisy Image to Image, Denoising Normal to Normal, and Denoising Albedo to Albedo. Go back into the Layout tab and into Render Properties. Go into the Denoising tab and check the Viewport box. This will denoise your viewport preview. Make sure the Render Denoise box stays unchecked, because we've set it up so that the image will be denoised after rendering. This is another thing that speeds up the rendering process. Now, to render your picture, go to Render and click Render Image. It's going to take a little while to render in cycles, so I'm just going to speed it up. Now that our image is rendered, you can see the grain is gone. This is because of the settings we put in earlier. To save your image, go to Image, Save As, and pick your preferred folder. I thought it might be fun to show you the differences between results you can get in Eevee versus cycles. For this picture, I think I like Eevee better. Everything looks a bit softer. The shadows are less harsh, especially in the face, which I like for this Sim's skin texture. It just looks better to me that way. However, I will say that cycles has much more detail in the contact shadows. In the end, it just depends on what type of look you prefer. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and that it was useful to you. In the future, I will be making a part 2 where I show how to edit my renders in Photoshop. Thank you, and have a nice day.